We begin in the NFL with Aaron Rodgers, as Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show and he talked about how he intends to play for the New York Jets. He had a lot of different things that he said in this interview with Pat McAfee. So take a listen.
I got to admit, I went in the darkness, 90% retiring, 10% playing. That's where my mind was. I think since Friday, I made it clear that my intention was to play, and my intention was to play for the New York Jets.
Okay.
And I haven't been holding anything up at this point. It's been compensation that the Packers are trying to get for me and kind of digging their heels in. So I would just I think it is interesting at this point to step back and look at the whole picture. My side, love and appreciation, gratitude for everything that Green Bay has done for me. So much love and gratitude, and just heart open for the Packer fans and what it meant to be their quarterback. And also the reality of the situation, it is what it is. The Packers would like to move on. They've let me know that in so many words. They've let other people know that in direct words. And because I still have that fire and I want to play and I would like to play in New York, it's just a matter of, getting that done at this point.
That was Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show a few days ago, explaining how his intention is to play for the New York Jets. So, as I listened to Aaron Rodgers' interview on the Pat McAfee show, I had a few different takeaways. One of my takeaways from the interview that Aaron Rodgers had on the Pat McAfee show was I thought Aaron Rodgers was inconsistent in some of the things that he said. One of the things that I thought he was inconsistent about was he said at the end of the season, when the Packers lost to the Detroit Lions at Lambeau Field in Week 18 in the season finale with an opportunity to go to the playoffs, after that game, he said that the Packers organization, they gave him the impression that they wanted him back in Green Bay. Basically, they told him, take all the time that you need, whatever you want to do, we're here for you. We want to bring you back. Take all the time that you need. And then basically, as he continued to talk in the interview, he said that there were times throughout the season where he felt like the organization was ready to move on. So I thought that was kind of contradicting, and he was on two sides of the fence there, because on one hand, he said at the end of the season that they told him that they wanted him back, but during the season, he got the feeling like they didn't want him back, and that this was basically the last dance for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. I thought that it didn't make any sense. And the thing is, when he's on the Pat McAfee show, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is gaining profit from the Pat McAfee show, or if Pat McAfee has some type of, understanding with Aaron Rodgers, like, hey, I'm trying to get my subscribers up. I'm trying to get my listeners up. I think Pat McAfee does a great job hosting the Pat McAfee show. And I think AJ Hawk and those other guys do a tremendous job hosting the Pat McAfee show. But I believe that Aaron Rodgers, him making his appearances on the Pat McAfee show, I believe that maybe they have an understanding or an agreement or something that Aaron Rodgers is getting back. I don't know. But I think Aaron Rodgers, when he's on the Pat McAfee show, I don't believe that Pat McAfee or AJ Hawk, they don't really challenge Aaron Rodgers on some of the things that he says. And if he was on a show where they were listening clearly to what he's saying, if someone was listening during his interview, they would have asked Aaron, hey, that's a little inconsistent on what you said, Aaron. You said at the end of the season they wanted you back. Then you also said that during the regular season, there were times where you felt like they no longer wanted you back in Green Bay. So which is it? Do they want you back or do they not want you back. That was something that I thought was inconsistent in what Aaron Rodgers was saying. I also felt like listening to him say when he went into the darkness that he was 90% retired, and then he came out of the darkness and he heard that the Packers were ready to move on from him. To me, I believe that Aaron Rodgers, to his heart and in his heart, really wants to still be a Green Bay Packer. The only reason why Aaron Rodgers is saying his intention is to play for the New York Jets is because the Packers are ready to break up with Aaron Rodgers, not Aaron Rodgers wanting to break up with the Packers. See, I think this is one of those situations where if you're in a relationship and it's been toxic, you want to be the one to leave the relationship. And I think that's Aaron Rodgers in this. He wants the Packers and the perception to be, hey, they gave up on me. They were done with me. I wanted to retire a Packer. I wanted to spend my entire career in Green Bay. But Aaron Rodgers basically, he wants it to be on the Packers. He wants them to take the blame for the relationship being over and him not retiring a Packer. And so I just thought how it was kind of funny how he said he was 90% retired when he went into the darkness, and he came out of the darkness. And once he heard that the Packers were ready to move on from him, then all of a sudden he's ready to play football again. All of a sudden now you want to play football again. You were 90% retired when you went into the darkness, Aaron. Now you're ready to retire? I believe that. Or I'm sorry, you were ready to retire when you went into the darkness. Now all of a sudden you're ready to play again. Now you're ready to put on that uniform and play football again. That doesn't make any sense. But I never really believed in Aaron Rodgers retiring ever. I never believed in the fact that he was going to ever retire because he has $60 million that he's going to get paid this year. So given the fact that he's going to get paid a lot of money, Aaron Rodgers was never considering retirement. I never bought into this idea that he was going to retire. I never once bought into this idea that he was going to walk away from all that money and retire. Also, I didn't buy into the idea of him retiring because he doesn't want to share his Hall of Fame night with Tom Brady. That's another reason why I never bought into this idea that he was going to retire. The money and the fact that he doesn't want to have to share the spotlight with Tom Brady when Tom Brady, has his Hall of Fame induction and has his moment. Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to share that night with Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers wants that night for himself. So those are two reasons why I never bought into the idea of Aaron Rodgers ever considering retirement. But again, for me, you went into the darkness 90% retired. This is his words. You went into the darkness 90% retired, and then you came out, and when you found out the Packers wanted to move on from you, all of a sudden, now you want to play football again. All of a sudden now you have this revitalized and motivation to want to play again. Like, that makes no sense. I just think the fact that the Packers wanted to move on from Aaron Rodgers, I think that that's something that he is having a hard time accepting. He wanted to be the reason why the relationship came to an end, whether that's retirement or whether that's him going to play for another team. He never really, I don't think he really genuinely wants to play for the Jets. If I'm the Jets and if I'm a fan of the Jets and I know this guy was 90% retired at one point during the offseason, and I'm supposed to believe all of a sudden that you're going to show up in New York, be committed, and help the young receivers and be a leader for this football team and contend for a Super Bowl, I wouldn't buy it if I was a Jets fan. I wouldn't buy it. I think Jets fans are so desperate because they haven't been to a Super Bowl since 1968, ain't been to the playoffs since 2010, the longest drought in the NFL. So they're desperate for Aaron Rodgers at this point. Jimmy Garoppolo is on the Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr is the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. So the Jets at this moment are desperate. So they have to buy into this idea that Aaron Rodgers is bought in and ready to contend for a Super Bowl. And I'm not buying into that idea, considering this man told us that he was 90% retired before the darkness retreat. So I believe that Aaron Rodgers still wants to be a Packer, but his pride and ego won't allow him to say that, because the Packers have already told multiple reporters and analysts and people that they want to move on from Aaron Rodgers, and they want to see what Jordan Love can be. And let's be clear about the relationship between the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. This relationship was over once the Packers moved up in the draft and selected Jordan Love. When they selected Aaron Rodgers' replacement and brought in Jordan Love, this relationship was headed for divorce. Now, in between, they had some happy moments. It's like any kind of couple that's in a marriage or relationship. You're in a toxic relationship, but you have happy moments in the mix of that relationship. And the happy moments for the Packers and Aaron Rodgers was Aaron Rodgers won back-to-back NFL MVPs. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers had back-to-back seasons where they were a top 2 seed in the NFC. They hosted home playoff games. So they had some moments in this toxic relationship where they both were happy. But once the Packers decided to draft Jordan Love, the relationship was headed for divorce. And this was the inevitable. And as a Packers fan, I knew that this was something that I had to accept and was going to happen at some point. But that's why after the season, I said I had reached my breaking point, because I was ready to move on from Aaron Rodgers. And then Aaron Rodgers, last year, he didn't have a great season. You look at what Aaron Rodgers did last year, his passer rating was 91.1. That was ranked 16th in the NFL amongst quarterbacks. He had 0 300-yard passing games. That was tied for last. He averaged 217 passing yards per game. That was ranked 19th in the NFL. He had 12 interceptions. That was tied for 7th most in the NFL. This ranks among 33 qualifying quarterbacks. So he had one of his worst seasons statistically of his career. And I didn't like the fact that he didn't go to the offseason program and develop chemistry with his young receivers in Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. You know, you just lost a star receiver in Devontae Adams. So you know, in order for the Packers offense to flow at a high level, you have to develop chemistry with your young receiving core in Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. And Aaron Rodgers wasn't committed in the offseason to the Packers. And honestly, now that he says he wants to be a Jet, if you are the New York Jets, and you know what your team is trying to go, I believe that Aaron Rodgers will make the New York Jets better. I believe that Aaron Rodgers potentially will make the Jets a playoff contender. But I'm not ready to say that the Jets will be a Super Bowl contender in the AFC, considering you have to go through Joe Burrow. You got to go through Justin Herbert. You got to go through Patrick Mahomes. You're going to have to go through Tua and Josh Allen in the AFC East alone. So do I believe the Jets will be better if Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback next season? Absolutely. Do I believe that the Jets are Super Bowl contenders in the AFC? I do not believe that they are Super Bowl contenders in the AFC. But I do like the Jets' skill position players. They got rookie offensive player of the year in Garrett Wilson. He's only 22. They got Elijah Moore. He's another receiver on their depth chart. He's only 22. They got Corey Davis. They got Breece Hall, who was having a sensational season before his season-ending injury. And they still got CJ Uzomah at tight end. So the Jets have great skill position players. Now, the offensive line is going to be an issue for the Jets. So they got to try to basically fix their offensive line before the season starts. But I like their skill position players. I really, really do. Defensively, you still got Sauce Gardner. I think Sauce Gardner will be the best DB in the NFL. I'll probably say either this year or for sure next year. That's how great Sauce Gardner is. And Sauce Gardner is a UC alumni. Shout out to Sauce Gardner. I love Sauce Gardner. But you got Sauce Gardner on defense. They just picked up Chuck Clark from the Ravens. Okay, you got CJ Mosley at linebacker. Up front, you got Solomon Thomas, Quentin Williams, who had a great season last year, Carl Lawson as well. So I like the Jets team, but I don't believe that they're Super Bowl contenders. And in the AFC East, the Dolphins and the Bills are both good football teams who made the playoffs last year. If the Dolphins had Tua last year in the playoffs, they could have beaten Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills in the wild card round of the playoffs. So I can't even say that the Jets are better than the Dolphins or the Bills. Maybe. I do still think that Aaron Rodgers is an elite quarterback. I want to be very, very clear about what I'm saying. I don't believe that Aaron Rodgers is washed. I still believe Aaron Rodgers can play. But I'm not so sure that Aaron Rodgers is going to be enough to push the Jets over the top in the AFC. The competition is steep. And I said from jump that in order for Aaron Rodgers to get back to his Super Bowl, I believe he has a better chance at reaching another Super Bowl in the NFC compared to what he has to do in the AFC. So, like I said, I listened to the entire interview, and there were things that I had questions about that he had said. And for me, like I said, I thought there were some inconsistencies on his part when it comes to the Packers and whether or not they wanted him back. He said at the end of the season they wanted him back. And then he also said during the season there were times that he thought and felt as if they didn't want him back. And then he said he went into the darkness 90% retired. But all of a sudden, when he found out the Packers no longer wanted him in Green Bay, all of a sudden now he wants to play football again. What? So, I mean, this is a guy who basically you motivate Aaron Rodgers when you slight him. Like when the Packers drafted Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers won back-to-back NFL MVPs. Back-to-back NFL MVPs. So he does play motivated if he feels disrespected. So maybe if you're the Jets and you're looking for a silver lining here, maybe because Aaron Rodgers feels disrespected because the Packers have decided to move on from him, maybe they'll get a motivated Aaron Rodgers the same way the Packers fans got a motivated Aaron Rodgers in the 2021 and the 2022 season. So everybody go follow Wise Guys on Twitter at Wise Guys _H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. Be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports.